Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and to the finale analysis of the first season of The Owl House. Now, I will be honest that I was originally planning on continuing my DuckTales analyzing, however, I didn't see it as fair to keep skipping over The Owl House, especially given how incredible the finale was. Oh, but don't worry, I'm still planning on doing the DuckTales Christmas special on time. I mean, guys, now I understand just why so many of you were thrilled about me getting down to dissecting this masterpiece. I mean, a ton happened that needs to be addressed, and so much more. And yes, in case you are wondering, I totally did end up getting Disney+. Darn, Disney is at it again. I just looked through every possible outcome. There was only one that allowed me to watch the finale. And so you've all waited long enough. You've seen the Agony of a Witch episode, and so now you're caught up, and now you know what's about to go down. Roll it. First things first is the unauthorized Boiling Isles history book narrated by King himself. However, when it comes to the author in question of who's responsible for actually writing this book, the answer is unknown. Though he or she may or may not be the real Azura, who I still to this day believe is not coincidentally a famous hero known in both worlds, or possibly even the human depicted within the first episode's explanation behind how only humans can walk through the Warden's force field. But there's totally some other theory I've got with this, but I'm not about to get ahead of myself just yet. At the very bottom of the book is yet another code, and the following encryption spells out blood, B-L-U-D, for the word blood, making the official text for the entire season: two witches torn apart, now alone, two hearts of stone, a curse of feathers and mud, a betrayal of blood. This, of course, is more than likely referring to Idolin and Lilith for whenever Lilith, who is blood related to Ida, betrays her very own sister with the owl curse. But more on this later on as well. Going in chronological order, let's begin with how the book immediately confirms how the Boiling Isles is indeed a giant corpse of the Titan himself, so yeah, it must smell wonderful there. The paragraph also asks if there's a possibility of other demons that could have been walking around in this world in the past. Also, what exactly could have caused the downfall of these titans? Fun fact as well is that the north in this world is pointed towards the head of the fallen giant. Moving right along, King explains how the emperor himself, Belos, claimed to be the only one who could speak to the titan, and declared that the old witches were misusing magic, and that only he can withhold all powers, which I'm calling complete bullcrap right now about, but like I've said earlier, I will speak further on this later. It's also key to mention how his strength supposedly grew over time. Totally not because he's secretly sucking the magic from out of everybody else for his own benefit. From the episode Agony of a Witch, he must be using particular magic for the sake of preserving his youth as well. Plus, to put the cherry on top, certifying this guy once and for all as a dictator, he clearly was known to also restrict the people from certain knowledge, or at least according to King. After King's narration, Luz prepares herself for the confrontation while wearing the special witch apprentice attire Ida was working on in the previous episode before her capture. We're then presented with the aftermath of what happened after Ida's capture and Belos' reappearance from the shadows. Now, I don't know about you, but I've heard of red beady eyes, but I never thought that blue glowing eyes could actually seem intimidating, especially since blue is my favorite color. And before we get down into other topics about Belos, we need to discuss this dude's powers. It clearly doesn't seem natural, even for a witch, supposedly. Now, one can theorize that since only Belos is permitted to be capable of using different forms of magic, perhaps some of this is a mixture of types that we've seen before. An example would be for whenever we see Belos vanish and soon reappear in another location, this could be like the illusionist magic mixed in with the construction magic or something along those lines. Now, next is of course everyone's favorite question of the day. What in the heck is with this guy's staff? It clearly is not a talisman, and it doesn't seem to be magical, but instead some kind of an invention. Just simply by the way it unfolds and even has a noticeable wire attached to it as if it's a mechanism powered by something, because I doubt that this is a handle, I mean, come on. Soon Belos reverts Ida from her cursed state and somewhat back into consciousness, like how she was, kind of like in the mid-season finale, but actually further under control. The fact that Belos had the knowledge to give Ida this ability to come back from losing control could have been his oracle magic that more than likely gives him wisdom. Belos also could have actually studied up on Ida's curse, or even did have the powers to reverse the curse, but only gave her a mere sample, enough to revert her into consciousness and nothing more. Belos asks Ida for the human realm of all things before casting her aside again and insists on getting it from Luz if he has to. It was something that was unexpected because what exactly is so special about the human realm that he, or well, apparently the Titan, wants? Soon after, Belos of course goes back on his word and decides to punish Ida through petrification. We're flashed back at Luz and Kang, where they supposedly get in trouble in order for the Warden's men to take them in. And I love the contrast of this, of all things. They get under arrest for simply stepping in restricted grass, whereas Ida on the other hand is thrown in for much more serious crimes. She literally had a full scroll. We're also given a cameo of the Warden in command himself from the very first episode of the show. I wonder if he still has a crush on Ida despite allowing her potentially being turned into stone forever. Oh, and by the way, before it slips my mind, I wonder if in the previous episode, Emperor Belos was actually snapping out pieces of stone from people being petrified in order for them to be able to have their magic zapped out of them. It could be a stretch, but I just wanted to put that out there on the table in case anyone else hasn't thought about that. Luz manages to escape alongside Kang after using magic that she's learned from the symbols they create and drawing them on slips of paper, which not only is unique, but is quite the disguise for if she ever gets caught, because who would suspect pieces of paper to be a threat? So, after getting the Warden to literally draw her a diagram of the insides of the castle to guide her way to Ida,
you let the human escape, and you drew her a map?
She finally gets to confront Ida, who reveals to her about the Emperor's plans on taking the human world portal for his own self. And all of this transpires right before Ida is forced to remain encaged just in time for the petrification. But just as Ida is taken away once more, Lilith arrives and has a quarrel with Luz into the human realm before she even has the opportunity to defend herself. One thing for sure that I found interesting about this scene was how Luz's magic no longer was functional outside of the Boiling Isles dimension. And here's why this is important. This not only shows the distinct difference between a human doing magic and a witch, but it also shows that the source of Luz's magic was not from the sheets of paper themselves, which admittedly was a theory I had in place a while back, but I'm glad I didn't echo it too much because if anything, this opens the door for her powers to be coming from someone or something else. Perhaps the fallen Titan, supposedly? I mean, we can't exactly hear what he's saying, only Belos apparently can. I guess at this point, it's possible that it derives from surrounding creatures around the Boiling Isles, considering how there's so many and magic needs to come from somewhere. But it doesn't seem to be coming from other witches, however, or else magic would have sucked from Lilith during this scene. Which brings me back to Belos and his doohickey of a staff. Seriously, this thing is a mechanism created for harnessing magic itself. Even the part where King explains how his powers only grew over time seems a bit sus. Another greatly important thing to take away from this sequence is of course the backstory behind Ida and Lilith as sisters in their younger days, which clarified Lilith's true motives behind cursing Ida, and it ended up being because Lilith assumed that the curse would last for a day in order to slow Ida down from potentially ruining her chances of becoming a part of the Emperor's Coven. This was due to there only being one opening available for the new position, and even though Ida forfeited against Lilith so that she could win anyways, the curse still took hold. Which brings us back to the completed decoded phrase, two witches torn apart now alone, two hearts of stone, a curse of feathers and mud, a betrayal of blood. After Lilith finally is able to explain her still super messed up and dumb misstep.
Alright, Lilith, I don't like your whole deal, but we need your help to save Ida.
The gang decide to head back into the Boiling Isles. Switching back over to how things are with Ida, Kikimora activates the petrification machine, which may or may not be a form of potion magic given the gold glow from the eyes. And soon after, the crowd joins Ida's defense once Gus's father, who is a TV reporter, has his microphone and screen hijacked by teenagers. Though we don't exactly see them actually attack any of the Coven members in the process. I mean, have these people ever been to a riot before? But then again, in the world of the Boiling Isles, these people have probably been forcibly overruled by higher beings for so long that they themselves don't even realize the state of tyranny that they're in. While all this is going on, Lilith and King get caught by Belos, who instead battles Luz so that he more than likely studies her, and also so that he can convince her to give the portal to the human realm to him. And considering how powerful Belos is, Luz did considerably well against him. She even knew how to mix her paper drawing magic with activating certain spells throughout Albert. One familiar creature that appeared during the fight scene was the same one that can be seen within the introduction. A giant larva-like creature that may or may not actually become an important asset to the story, but at this point I doubt it. There's a slight moment where Luz manages to have the upper hand in a way, which not only is impressive, but as Luz mentions later in the episode, this shows that he's not invincible. As Belos recovers, he expresses the fact that the Titan doesn't want the human portal for world domination, but instead for something not so boorish. And I guess the Titan just has more class than that. And from this, we can take that perhaps there's more to Earth than dominance that's at hand here. Plus, Belos probably is actually communicating with the Titan at this point. It's either that or he's truly convincing, to say the least. Now, as for why Belos himself may have interest in the portal, it could be that he himself is not a witch, and here's why I say this. One major hint that the show gave us from the very beginning was how only humans can trespass inside of the force field of random items. And why would Belos of all emperors allow such a field to be invented if he himself didn't have access? Plus, what do we know about him thus far? He clearly doesn't use a natural talisman for magic, possibly due to him not possessing a witch's magical sac bile. We still haven't seen his identity, the mysterious human from the legends didn't exactly have proper screen time, and notice how he didn't seem too surprised by Luz's amazing discovery in using magic with sheets. The last could just simply be because he purposely stripped knowledge like this from the people for further control over the Isles, but the point still stands. In an act to save Ida, Luz gives in and sacrifices the door to the human realm in the most epic way possible.
I may have lost, but so have you.
By the way, whoever did the musical score for this moment did a pretty great job, and the same can be said for Belos' shocked facial expression. This moment even got me, because now Luz pulled a star butterfly. Only this time, the only thing that can potentially get Luz back is by using Belos' newly built portal once fully operational. So Luz in the end gets Lilith, Ida, and King out of the petrification arena after somehow threatening one of Belos' most trusted assistants, Kikimora. You'd expect her to fight back more, especially after chewing out the warden for not overtaking Luz the first time, but hey, I mean, I guess Luz was pretty frightening to her. Ida and the rest escape with her owl form, and they soon land back at the owl house, where Lilith does the responsible thing in sharing the curse with Ida so that her life is saved. And though the old ancient relic from the episode before was said to be inefficient towards helping Ida and her curse by Lilith, I wonder if that really would have worked. But back to Lilith sharing Ida's pain, they no longer have the ability to cast magic, or at least Ida especially can't. Lilith just simply says that she feels somewhat weakened, however, though I'm sure that she too can no longer cast spells. This encourages Luz to teach Ida how to cast spells using sheets of drawings like her, which could help jog Ida's mind on how witches used to cast magic without a magic bile. As for what's to come next, there's a ton to look forward to, as the gang not only have a new villain of the Emperor who will be keeping watch of them, but now both Lilith and Ida are practically defenseless. I'm not too sure if just this event had woken up the people into realizing the corruption behind Belos and his men, but only time will tell. And as for the portal, we can definitely determine that Belos clearly is more than desperate for its operation, and possibly for reasons beyond even our imaginations. But as for right now, thank you all for watching this extremely long analysis breakdown of this dandy finale. Just wish some of most of the animations were as polished as scenes from The Intruder or even Agony of a Witch, for example. Other than that, there's not too much to complain about exactly. I for one really enjoyed the ending and can't wait for the second season, which should be released in the well-anticipated year of 2021, because dump this year, we all deserve a redo button. Anyways, once again, thank you all for participating. Please like this video if you, for some strange reason, haven't yet. I mean, I did do a ton of hard work into this video, and gosh darn it, if you haven't subscribed yet, how dare you? This has been your boy, The Next Big Thing, back again with another video, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace!